Morning from the potting shed. I think I finally managed to get caught up. The weeding was unbelievable. I mean, we've got a lot of rain over here while we're away, a little bit of sunshine. The soil's warming, so it was the perfect storm. So it took me about a full session, a full day to get back on top. But there are still one or two jobs that I need to get on with. And the first thing I'm going to be getting on with is sowing my, potting on my kale. Now, this is the second sowing. The first sowing didn't seem to do that well. So I'm going to be getting on with that today. They should catch up, you know, they're a crop that are in the ground for a long time. You can be picking off these right the way through, you know, into January, February. So I'll be getting those done. Secondly, I showed you how I sowed my parsnips earlier in the year. This is going to be the second sowing. I want these, and these are probably the ones that I'm going to be eating at the Christmas table, to be fair. Last year, the first sowing I left right the way through, and by the time we were pulling them, they were quite big. Tasted okay, you know, drizzled with a bit of honey, but I think that they should have come out a bit earlier. So I'm going to start. I'll eat those ones that are in the ground first, and then these ones should be nice and ready for Christmas dinner. Then I'm also going to go into the net tunnel. I put the Brassicas in there when I came back from my holidays, and they've just been sat in there. They need planting, so I'm going to make a start on that today, and also I'm going to make a start on getting some tomatoes in the bed in the small greenhouse. So we'll crack on. I'm only putting, I only need around 12 kale, so I'm going to get them potted on into this now. So let's go. So I've got my trays prepared. They've all got nice little divots in there, and I'm just going to take that one away. It ain't going to do much, and just with a nice little bit of root on there, just simply place that in, and that's hardly being disturbed. It's just when you get two together like this that you have to look to try and split them like so. But as long as you get a little bit of weed, a little bit of roots, then you should be fine. Just gently bob that in, and there we go. And I shouldn't really be teaching you how to suck eggs, but I just thought I'd show you how I go on. So there's another one. These will go, I'll bob these in the greenhouse just to see. I'll give them a hand to catch up, and then once they're of a decent size, I'll put them in the cold frame and then harden them off. So there we go, that's those all nicely potted on. Got to really give these a good soak. As I mentioned before, the compost isn't very good. It doesn't retain moisture that well. So I'll give these a good soak, and I'll bob them in the greenhouse just to give them a little bit of a boost to growth. And then once they get of a decent size, they'll go into the cold frame. So we'll move on now to getting the second lot of parsnips sowed. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I have covered it in another past video. But just in case some people haven't seen, what I've done is I've sieved this compost as best I can, and bobbed it in a tray, and I've given it a really good soaking. And now all I simply do is I drop these seeds with a little bit of a gap between them onto the damp compost. And the reason I leave that space in is because I use the teaspoon method, which allows me just enough room to get a teaspoon in to scoop them out undisturbed when I transplant them into the final growing position. So I'll crack on doing this, and when I fill the tray, I'll come back to you. So with those all nearly done, and move on to the next stage. One of the things I find is if you damp your finger a little bit, it helps. You just bob the seed on the end and then it just drops nicely into place. So again, you know, just simply, and it just sticks down. So there we go. That's all of those. Back into the packet. Now all I do, as I've mentioned before, you just make sure that they're in good contact with the soil, with the compost. You know, that they're touching it and that they're all nicely in contact. And then I just simply get myself an old compost bag. And in it goes. And that goes underneath the bench in the greenhouse, and all I've got to do is just monitor that. Now I monitor these probably every other day because, as I mentioned, the moisture doesn't really stay in this compost for too long, but the fact that it's in a bag does help to keep it moist for longer. So we'll check back in on those in probably 10 days time. Between 10 and 14 days you should start to see the seedlings start to sprout. So here we are in the net tunnel. It's an overcast day. It's been raining overnight, so it's a little bit damp in here. So I'm going to start to get the brassicas out. So the first lot I'm going to put out are the Savoy cabbage. So we'll get cracking with that and see where we get to. So as you'll know, a couple of weeks ago I limed all the soil. So this is ready to go now. I'm not going to plant too many of these. It's very important as well to ensure you give them enough space. So I'm sort of 6 inches back from the net tunnel there. 6 inches away from the net tunnel, and I'm going to come about a foot away from that plant. So it gives them plenty of room to grow into. Nice firming, nice and firm, and then again probably around a trowel and a half space in there. Don't worry about burying these first leaves, they'll come back. Right, I'll crack on with these and I'll come back to you once they're done. So there we go, there's the Savoys in. As I've said before, just adequately spaced them and give them plenty of room. I've only done a dozen there. I've got quite a few spare, so on the bottom half of the plot, in a couple of the small beds, I'll bob probably 4 in each of those. They're really easy to put up a temporary net. So what I'm going to do now is move on to the rest of the brassicas, the pak choi, kohlrabi and the red cabbage. Once I've done that, I'll come back to you. So we're fully planted up. I think I've made a little bit of an error. I'll take you along and show you. Right, so there we go. So starting at the front here, got some kohlrabi in there. Then onto the pak choi, and then the Savoys the way there. On this side we've got the red ladero cabbage, and then I've got some cauliflower here. Now I think I've not really measured properly, because I've got these peas here, remember, and I've only managed to get 6 cauliflowers in. Now for me, cauliflowers are the hardest thing to grow, and I've really done my homework on this soil preparation. So if I get a belting season of cauliflowers and I've only got 6 in, I'll be absolutely gutted. So I think I'm going to make the decision to get rid of these peas. Sounds drastic, but they can go on the compost pile. I was never ever sure about growing them directly sowing into the soil. Germination rate, there's gaps here, there and everywhere. So I think I'm going to take them out. I'm going to stick in another couple of, probably another 4 collies, and then I've got 3 sprouts that can go on the end. So you live and learn, no matter how much you plan. You've always got to be flexible, and you've got to look to change them as you go along. Right, okay, on we go to the tomatoes. So we are in the small greenhouse in the raised bed, and I'm looking to put in my first tomatoes. The tomatoes that I'm going to be planting is I'm going to plant 3 Moneymaker. As you can see, these are really healthy. They're bursting to get out. As you can see, the root at the bottom of the pot. I'm going to put 3 Moneymaker in, and I'm going to also put 3 Sun Gold. Sun Gold can be grown inside the greenhouse, or it can be grown on the outside as well. So I'm going to put these at the back, and then I may consider later embobbing some bush varieties in front of them. I'll see. I was going to put some chilies in this bed, but I'm not keen on the compost, as you know, so I would much prefer to grow those in pots, so that's what I'm going to do. So we'll start off by just tapping these out of the pot, and as you can see, that root is absolutely bursting to get out. The one thing that I love about planting tomatoes is the smell. This greenhouse now smells absolutely divine. What I'm going to do, I will plant them alternately as well. So let me get a gold and a red, gold and a red. So they're going in there. I forgot which way I did that then. Yep, so that's right. No, it must be this one. It's this one. That one in there. That one there. And one more there. Above me, I've got some string. So what I'm going to do is, when these get taller, I'm going to draw some string down and just loop them around the plant to give it support. So, fantastic, getting the first tomatoes in, brilliant. There we go. What varieties are you growing this year, and maybe why? Leave me a comment. Right guys, that's going to be me today. Once I get these done, I'm going to do what I said I was going to do right at the beginning of making these YouTube videos. I'm now going to make myself a cup of tea, sit down and relax for an hour before I go home and watch the footy. So that's me. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you for watching. Thank you to my new subscribers, and thanks for all your comments. And just one point, one of my subscribers mentioned, when I'm talking about the Brassicas and the Brassica tunnel protecting the cauliflowers and such, she mentioned, why don't you create a bed outside, and any spare Brassicas that you've got, put them there and allow the cabbage whites and the pigeons and everybody else to have their fill. And you know what, it's a really good point. I think I'm going to take that up, so I'll show you that in the next video. Until then guys, Happy growing.